Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Jamie.
So here we are today in our houses, and I thought it might be really fun to share with some of our library friends about a special project that you suggested for us. So you may know, friends out there, that Elizabeth is the head of the youth services, the children's department at the library. Do you want to introduce yourself, Elizabeth?
That pretty much contains it. I had youth services. I'm also a storyteller, and I'm also have a background as a folklorist, which sort of plays into my interest in this process of journaling.
And for those of you who may not know who I am, I'm Jamie, and I've worked at the children's in the children's room for about 20 years, and I'm also a writer when I'm not at the library. Avid reader, and of course I enjoy hearing and reading stories and telling stories too. So for both of us, it makes a lot of sense that we might decide to join a journaling project, which is what we've done. So the reason we're talking today is because Elizabeth and I both signed up to participate in the Wisconsin Historical Society's COVID-19 journaling project. Do you want to explain what that is, Elizabeth? I'll show the website while you explain it.
Sure. This is a project that the Wisconsin Historical Society started to encourage people, everyday people, anybody out there, to journal during this time period, your thoughts, your feelings, what's happening in your life, just things that are going on for you right now during COVID-19, during the stay at home. It's something they actually started as a historical society with during the Civil War. So we're kind of repeating history by doing it now at this time.
And anyone can do it, right, Elizabeth? Like anyone that went to this website is welcome to start a COVID-19 journal.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to be a certain person, a certain age, or anything. Anybody who wants to do this can do it, and you can do it in a lot of different ways. It's not just about, you don't have to have a book and write into it like a diary. You can, but that's only one of the many ways. You could do pictures, you could do video journaling, you could write on the computer, all sorts of things.
So I feel like you and I, as library people, library users, and storytellers, we maybe know why it's important to us, but why do you think it's important to record the stories of everyday people?
Well, I think primary sources, which is what this is like real people experiencing everyday life, which becomes history to those in the future, are really the bedrock of historical research. It's the bedrock of family stories too, of things that get passed down through the generations. And if you have any interest in future generations, whether it's even just your own family, or if it's really, historians and students in the future who want to find out what was it really like.
What were the day-to-day things going on? Exactly. What sorts of things are you putting into your journal?
I am doing, well, I started at mine April 7th. So for me, that was about 3 weeks after things really started happening for me as a librarian and just as a person, but especially with regard to when the library started to be impacted. So I started it on April 7th, and I felt like there was a lot that I wasn't handling if I started just on that day. So I started my journal with a timeline, just with things that happened on certain days and how quickly things happened in those first few weeks and how quickly things changed. That was just important to me to put in there, and that was a little bit more focused on how it affected me as a librarian, as somebody working in the library. And then each day I decided I was going to devote one page. I have a physical journal, a paper one day, but I didn't want to just write a block of writing, partly because I'm just personally feeling a little scattered. So it was just easier for me to think in little, oh, this is the topic, this is the issue I'm doing today or I'm thinking about today, and then oh, there's this, and oh, there's that. So I did it with a little bit of pieces of information, like some of them are maybe not as maybe don't seem as relevant, but they're relevant to me right now, like what the weather is like. And I don't do it every day, but I'll put in what the current situation of confirmed cases is in Rock County. And the emergency operations commander has suggested you do one good thing every day. And that has been very helpful to me personally, but it also means that every day I try to think of one good thing, and that's one thing I'm going to put in my journal. And then whatever else was kind of on my mind or things that I had to deal with. I live in an apartment building. I don't have a washing machine and dryer in my apartment. They're in the building, but there's no change machine. So I need quarters, and getting quarters when the banks are closed, except for drive-through, it's possible, but I had to think about it and figure out how to be done. They'll come around, they'll bring it out to me. And I had to plan ahead to make sure I had this. So things like that, just the little things.
Yeah, the things that we've been taking for granted in our everyday lives that suddenly become very complicated. Like, yes. I went grocery shopping this morning, and it really is like before leaving the house, thinking about everything I have to have in line in order to have my mask and to have my grocery list so I don't forget anything, because I don't want to have to go back out again. I'm trying to stick to just once a week. But it's all those things that we sort of do take for granted that now seem like they take on a bigger role. And you know what, I haven't necessarily put that sort of thing into my journal, and now listening to you talking about it, I'm wondering if I'll put a few more everyday details in. For instance, what are we having for dinner tonight? And the first time we decided to go ahead and order carry out, and how we felt about that. And it was a morale boost for sure. And you know, just those tiny details that I know that when I'm reading journals that I find interesting, especially things that maybe took place 100 years ago, that for them it maybe was every day, but for us we're like, wow, that's how they got their chicken ready. so I'm definitely thinking about adding things like that. And I know you said your journal is more of it's a combination of writing, but also you kind of shared a page with me, and yours looks very artistic compared to mine. Mine is very, I'm going to show you a page, but this is my first page, and it's just that dense text. And then as I kind of go on, I've started adding some different things that I've seen on Facebook. I even added this like COVID-19 update that they put in there. I'm not doing it every day, but just kind of like a little scattering scrapbook picture of me, because whenever I read a journal, I kind of like to know who's writing this. Picture of my daughter and some cute little like things. But so that's kind of what mine looks like. Yours looks different than that.
Yeah, mine's a little different. I when I knew I wanted to do this project, I went through, I actually have a shelf of journals. Well, two shelves, one of full journals, because I journal for myself all the time. But also empty journals, ones I haven't used yet. And I had one I hadn't used because a friend had given it to me. She'd actually made it. She's a paper and book artist, and it was so beautiful. I didn't want to use it for just every day. And then I was looking through my shelf and thought, oh, well, this is the perfect time for it. So that's inspiring to me, to have a nice book to work in. So then, yeah, I started out with my timeline, so it's a little bit more, you know, the dates and such. And then each day I do a little bit of sketching. I usually have the date and such. And you know, I don't consider myself much of an artist, but I do like to do little sketches. So sometimes I go off this way, sometimes I go this way, just whatever it feels like that day.
So you're kind of taking more like the graphic novel approach to your journaling.
So.
And mine's sort of like the very dry, I don't know, very old nonfiction, not like today's nonfiction. Mine's going to have to take some formatting and something for people to enjoy it in 100 years. It's kind of fun because it takes on your personality a little bit too, and mine's kind of taken on my personality a little bit. I like lists and I like bullets, and yet it's starting to get a little scattered, just like my own thinking, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So do you read a lot of journals? Like when you're doing just reading for your own fun and curiosity, do you look at the diary and journal format very often?
I do. I'd say maybe I'm probably more of a memoir reader than journal per se. But I do like, I've enjoyed novels that are written in letter format or journal format. You know, one of the first ones that came to mind with this whole project is Anne Frank's diaries, of course. But there's some more recent ones that I've really enjoyed. and maybe they've influenced my approach. In fact, like El Defo by
sure, that is
a graphic novel. It's about growing up deaf, and about her as a little girl, or George Takei's They Called Us Enemy, another graphic novel approach, and that really, I mean, that one really gives a sense of the same sort of idea of this moment of history. And in his case, he was a child during the World War II and the Japanese American internment camps. So his perspective of it as a child, as well as his perspective as an adult, comes in that one. And I love Nikki Grimes, her recent memoir, Ordinary Hazards, and that also it's not graphic, but it's done in short pieces, essentially sort of a poetry or short just a moment. And I love the way how just that moment captures so much.
Well, hopefully, I don't think that my journal will get to any of those standards, but maybe someday someone who's writing about this time period will look at my journal and get some details to make your amazing journal. That's kind of what I'm hoping that future readers will get out of this for me. What's the most challenging aspect of this for you?
Well, it maybe seems sort of ironic, but finding the time.
Right?
Because, well, as you know, we are still working. I mean, we're working at home, but we're still working. And then, so I finish my day's work, and, I still have to kind of make myself think, oh yeah, you got to do this. So just sitting down and doing it. And one of the things for me that helps on that is that I signed up for it and that you're doing it.
I am doing it. We're talking about it. We know that we are.
Oh yeah, I've got to do
this.
I did miss several days, and I was determined, because my vision for it was a day, every day, one page. So I went back. I mean, I filled in those days, and I had made a few notes to myself, so I knew what I wanted to include. But now it was also more work to have to fill that up. So that was also a help to realize if I do it every day, it's easy.
It is challenging. And I started my first day also on April 7th, and I sat down and I thought I had seen these types of projects happening already. And you and I had discussed maybe doing one for the Janesville room for the library. But as a writer, I was coming at it, I'm a fiction writer. And so, of course, to me, it's all about where's the drama in it, where's the problem in it, where do we really come into rooting for this character? And I was afraid that my journal entries would be like, well, I sat on the computer for 8 hours today, and I took a lot of classes, and I did a couple story times, and it wouldn't be a very compelling read. And I'm hoping, truthfully, although I'm keeping details, that mine turns out to not be the most compelling of reads, because I feel like a really compelling journal has a mixture of tragedy attached to it. And so I'm very hopeful that mine just becomes one that they can look into for details only and not for the storytelling value necessarily. But it has been challenging. It's been challenging as a writer, but it's also been really comforting to go back and just put my thoughts into the journal. I'm not someone who journals, even though I'm a writer. It's something I've always resisted. But I'm finding it really rewarding. It's helping me process a lot of my thoughts and a lot of my feelings that I'm having during this time that I sometimes don't even realize that I'm having. So journaling is very good for that, and we know that. What about you? Are you finding it mostly rewarding, or is it mostly a challenge?
No, I'd say it's mostly rewarding. And it's rewarding to me just to look back at it. And I like the color helps. I don't know, the fact that I put little colors in drawings actually just sort of cheers me up. And I can see that the things passing and making me aware of what I'm thinking about it. Sometimes I think, oh, maybe I should be doing more introspective things. And I think about, well, maybe I do my own separate journal. I do have my own journal, but actually I haven't been writing in it for several weeks. But on the whole, I find it rewarding, and it feels like I'm doing something. It's part of my positive thing. This is the one good thing that I'm doing. It's like I'm making an actual positive move by doing this.
That's what I feel like too, that we're making a positive move for ourselves right now, but then also we really are recording history as it's happening. And maybe this will be something that really will be useful for researchers and readers in the future, and the Historical Society will archive them. I know we kind of talked about when ours will be available for the public to read, and I've decided mine will be sealed for a number of years, not because just because I want to be honest, and I don't want anyone who might read it right now to be upset about anything when it's my personal feeling about things. So I feel like I can be honest if I know that it's sealed for 50 years. So, how about you?
And you were I mean, I appreciated that you asked about that, because I think that is an important point, is that you're making a commitment. You're not signing it in blood, but you're making a commitment to the reason you're doing this is to be able to put it in the archive. And I think it is helpful to know that it's going into the archive. And if you do not want it to be immediately available, you can say so. It can be sealed for a while. And I do think that, I mean, even if there's not a lot of super personal details, I think it's reassuring. It's reassuring to me to say that, all right, this, I will allow a space of time. I don't know how long. I mean, I haven't put a number on it, but I would want it probably sealed for at least a span of years, to feel like there's a distance between it.
And I think that's important. So you'll have to decide how many years yours is sealed for. And I think I know that mine will be about 50 years. I think that will protect all the innocents. And in the meantime, hopefully the rest of the people working on this project won't seal theirs. And then I'll be able to read theirs while they're waiting to read mine, right? So this has been a really informative thing for me to do. So I'm glad that you encouraged me to sign up and do it. And I hope that some of our other, Janesville citizens and library users will consider going to its wisconsinhistory.org and its /journal project. And I believe they're still signing people up, and you can do a 30, 60, or 90-day journal, as I recall when I registered.
That's right.
And they won't hold you to it, though.
You can choose what kind of journal too. I mean, they let you check off, what kind of journal do you think you want to do? Do you want to do a video journal? Do you want to do a paper writing journal? Do you want to do drawings?
So as we're ending our little talk right now, I want to show, let's see if I can share my screen again here. And I want to show our pictures that we wrote, or that we took, and we wrote our little, can you see that? There you are with your sign, and you said that I'm participating in the COVID-19 journal project because the everyday stories of what life is like now matters. And I think that that's a great thing to keep in mind. And then see if I can share mine with you so that they can see what I was thinking about. I'm participating in the COVID-19 journal project because primary sources are important, and that means us right now. And I have, even writing fiction, gone back to look at some primary sources to make sure I got my details right. And so that's what I was thinking about, and that's what I am thinking about as I'm writing every single day. And hopefully we'll be filling future libraries up with amazing, cool stories from this time. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for talking about it, and we better get back to work and start journaling some more too.
That's right. Get that entry in.
Bye, guys. We'll see you back at the library, and don't forget to sign up to do this if you want to, because it would be interesting to get many, many different people's reactions for this. I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll see you at the library, guys.